Farming is what changed civilizations from nomadic hunter-gatherers to stable farmers with a secure food income. The idea at the time was probably as revolutionary as the discovery of the wheel. Agriculture began in the Fertile Crescent more than 11,000 years ago. Not only is agriculture a very lucrative business, but it brings a certain satisfaction to life. Farmers use phrases like love for the land and enjoying what nature gives you. What is it about farming that makes it so fulfilling? Is the farm lifestyle better than city life? We searched around and we think it may just be. This is why farm life is better than city life. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on, so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. The birth of a love for farming. Did you know that agriculture began independently in different parts of the globe at the same time and included a diverse range of taxa? At least 11 separate regions of the Old and New World were involved as independent centers of origin for agriculture. Wild grains were collected and eaten from at least 105,000 years ago. However, domestication of animals did not occur until much later. Starting from around 9,500 BC, the 8th Neolithic founded crops. Emmer wheat, einkorn wheat, hulled barley, peas, lentils, bitter vetch, chickpeas, and flax were cultivated in the Levant. Real farming had started. Pigs were domesticated in Mesopotamia around 11,000 BC, followed by sheep between 11,000 BC and 9,000 BC. Then cattle were domesticated from the wild aurochs in the areas of modern Turkey and India around 8,500 BC. Sugarcane and some root vegetables were domesticated in New Guinea around 7,000 BC. In the Andes of South America, the potato was domesticated between 8,000 BC and 5,000 BC, along with beans, cocoa, llamas, alpacas, and guinea pigs. In Mesoamerica, wild teosinte was domesticated to maize by 4000 BC. Cotton was domesticated in Peru by 3600 BC. Camels were domesticated late, perhaps around 3000 BC. And lastly, in Australia, agriculture was invented at a currently unspecified period, with the oldest eel traps of Budj Bim dating to 6600 BC. Thus, the history of farming drew in a special breed of people who learned to love and appreciate what the land and nature offered. Even today, real farmers pass their farms on from generation to generation. It is in their blood. Much less pollution. Pollution is everywhere, but as a rule, it's much less of a problem on farms. One of the main advantages of farming is less pollution. No air pollution. I think we all know that the cloud one sees above most cities is pollution. That brown or gray cloud is the result of millions of cars pumping their gases into the atmosphere. That cloud also includes industries shamelessly pumping CO2 into the air city people must breathe. Air pollution refers to the release of pollutants like toxic gases, biological molecules, and particulate matter into the atmosphere. The pollutants can be derived from several sources, including both natural processes and human activity. Volcanic eruptions, limenic eruptions, automobile and industrial effluents, etc. are some examples of air pollution sources. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, aerosol sprays, etc. are some examples of air pollutants. Such pollution can be highly detrimental to the health and well-being of all life forms on Earth. Because farms are usually located away from large metropolitan areas, the atmosphere is much cleaner in terms of pollution. That does not only make the air healthier to breathe for people and animals, but the amounts of CO2 in the air are cleaned by the vegetation and crops one invariably finds on farms. The other advantage is that because the air is cleaner, one can see a much clearer night sky. Most city dwellers have never seen quite how clear and distinctive the Milky Way stars are at night because of all the smog. This becomes quite clear with the reactions from people living in cities during the global health situation, when people started realizing how clearly they could see the Milky Way due to a massive reduction in smog. Anthropologists know that early man had a connection with the stars, their patterns of movement, and what they meant. It is possible that we all still have that connection, but we have forgotten about it. Maybe farmers find the clear starlit sky reaches them on a level that promotes human contentment. The fact is, cleaner air is better for you. So in that area, farm life is better than city life. Less water pollution. In simple terms, the contamination of water bodies like lakes, rivers, ponds, aquifers, etc. by pollutants is called water pollution. Like air pollution, water pollution is one of the most harmful types of pollution. It can have extremely disastrous consequences for all living beings using the contaminated water. A major volume of all the pollutants produced on land end up in water bodies. Toxic waste released by industries, pathogens released in sewage, harmful chemicals present in agriculture runoffs, etc. are some of the top water pollutants. The contamination of water can lead to epidemics and even pandemics that can wipe out the population of an entire species or even more than one species. Thus, water pollution has a highly adverse impact on the environment, society, and economy of place. Although farms have less water pollution, the use of insecticides does add to the problem. Organic farmers do not use insecticides, but larger industrial farms still do. As a rule, water is less polluted around smaller farms, but more so around larger farms. Less soil contamination. When the soil of an area is contaminated, it leads to soil pollution or land degradation. The soil is essential to the growth of all plants, including crops. Thus, a degradation in the soil quality translates to lower yields and poor health of crops grown on such soil. Industrial and agricultural chemicals are the common pollutants contaminating the soil. Farmers who start losing yields are bound to start realizing that pesticides are not worth the loss of income in terms of monetary gain. Unfortunately, there is a lot of soil contamination on larger scale farms, but it is still less than in cities. No noise pollution. When the environment is filled with unnecessary or unpleasant sounds that are harmful to animals and plants, it is called noise pollution. Transport vehicles, machinery, industries, loud music, people yelling, etc. are some of the most common sources of noise pollution. This type of pollution in the long term can give rise to chronic diseases like cardiovascular diseases. The psychological health of people can also be affected by noise. One of the best benefits of living on a farm is the absence of noise pollution. Farmers tend to enjoy the silence, and human beings have an innate need for peace and quiet at times. You will get that on farms. Any noise pollution one may find on farms, like generators, is noisy, but farmers can exercise control over the situation by using quieter generators and soundproofing them or placing them further away from their homesteads. Other farmers will tell you the sound of a generator is soothing. We are not so sure about that, but the fact remains there is much less noise pollution on farms. Light pollution. The pollution of the night environment by the anthropogenic light is known as light pollution. This type of pollution is caused by excessive lighting of the streets, floodlights used in stadiums, lights used in an industrial area, etc. The negative effects of light pollution include the spoilage of the aesthetic environment of a place, creating disturbances in the ecosystem, and also harming the health of living creatures. Human beings were not meant to have access to excessive lighting at night, but we have become accustomed to it. On farms, there is much less light pollution since there are no street lights or lights from passing vehicles or nearby buildings. This is another reason why living on a farm is better than living in a city. Living close to nature. As much as you would be inclined to argue the fact we are all carbon-based life forms born from the soil that we remove ourselves from, it is the same soil we will return to one day, unless we blast our dead remains into space. Farmers are close to nature, and the soil and the animals get sustenance from the soil, while one day becoming sustenance themselves. In a way, we are all meat eaters because the soil includes dead animals out of which our vegetables and fruit grow. Unfortunately, we consume too much meat, and the way animals are treated before slaughter is not beneficial to anybody. Farmers learn to love the soil they work with and the smells of freshly plowed dirt, or the smell that is left after a rainstorm. We may not always get it, but spend 3 days on a farm and see how you feel and what you start to notice. You will probably spend more time seeing sunrises and sunsets, spend more time seeing animals graze, and hear the birds. Human beings were not born to build cities, or were they? Farmers might disagree. The love they develop for nature is a major factor in lowering stress and making them healthier. Does living in a city make people less stressed? Sense of community. The larger the city, the less the sense of community. Human beings are social creatures who have to socialize. How many city dwellers know anything about their neighbors? How many city dwellers know a large percentage of the people with whom they live? Farmers form closer bonds with their neighboring farms for various reasons, such as firefighting, assistance with problems that require teamwork, loaning of farming implements and machinery, and many more reasons. If a fire breaks out on one farm, everybody must help put it out, or they will all bear the consequences. Their combined knowledge also helps them collectively decide when to harvest or sow. It is called the mastermind principle and is one of the principles of success. One person may get it wrong, but collectively, they are much more inclined to do the right things at the right time. A sense of community is also akin to a sense of family. The farming community provide each other with moral support during bereavement and help out those farmers who have had major setbacks. All in all, I think you agree that living on a farm is more beneficial than living in a city in terms of personal health, and we have not even touched on less crime. Do you agree? Please leave a comment. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check back for future videos. Until then, stay safe.